We'll call the March Human Services meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Roll call, let's see. John Poole is not here. Did you get it?
I did not.
Neither did I. Maybe I'll check mine later. Castro said he would be late. Did you get anything from Aksa or Sri Harsha?
I did not either.
Okay. And I'll just wait on this one for the time being. Okay, let's see. Any citizen comments? Any citizen comments? Doesn't look like we have any citizen comments, so we'll move on. Citizen comments are closed. I don't have anything in particular to add or say. Does anyone, any supervisors have anything you would like to say? Olivia, as the lone representative of student governance, do you have anything to say for yourself?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. All right. Let's move on. Approval of the minutes from the February 24th meeting. Did all supervisors get a chance to take a look at those minutes? Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Curry to approve the February 24th minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Nez. Any questions, comments? Okay, Youth and Governance.
Aye.
Committee, how do you vote?
Aye.
Any nays? I don't think so. Okay, motion is approved. Okay, next we have a resolution to approve the appointment of Supervisor Daniel Gashke to serve on the Kenosha County Human Services Board. Supervisor Gashke is not here tonight. He's in Washington, D.C. lobbying for the county. If you have any questions, you're going to have to ask them later, but I think we all know Supervisor Gashke. Any questions, comments, any motion? Okay, move to approve by Supervisor Robinson, a second by Supervisor Brown. Youth and Governance.
Aye.
Committee.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right. We also have we're going to have a presentation today by the Workforce Innovation Opportunities Act President. Boy, that's a mouthful, man. By Doug Bartz, who's the Executive Director of Southeastern Wisconsin Workforce Development Board. Mr. Bartz, you have the floor.
So just real quickly, Doug's been in this position since 2012, works out of Kenosha County, is a Kenosha County employee paid through what you'll hear about shortly, the WIOA or WIOA federally funded grants for employment. So I'll turn it over to Doug for his presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for having me. So yes, I'm coming to talk about the Southeast Wisconsin Workforce Development Board. We operate underneath the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act.
She has to pick something.
Oh, okay. The workforce.
Upset.
Not yet.
Personal.
Just started.
I'm losing.
What did I say?
But it is a federal law that was enacted back in 2014, went into effect in 2015. We cover the geographical area of Kenosha, Racine, and Walworth counties. So even though I am an employee of Kenosha County, I have responsibility in our neighboring and sister counties. So most of our funding is federal. We have no levy in our program whatsoever, all through the Department of Labor, via the Department of Workforce Development at the Wisconsin level, and then we also get some Department of Corrections and some other local funding. We're required within the law to procure services, so the Workforce Board cannot actually deliver the services on their own. We have to procure it per the law. So we have a provider that does most of our employment and training grants, and that's Dynamic Workforce Solutions. And then we also have a small grant that goes to Racine County Human Services for the Windows to Work program, which is specific to working inside Department of Corrections facilities, working with gentlemen or ladies who are about to return back into their communities. As I mentioned, this law has been around since July of 14, but again, it was enacted in 2015. It superseded the Workforce Investment Act of 1998. Prior to that, it was called the Job Training Partnership Act, so JTPA. The importance or purpose of WIOA is to match businesses with people. So we serve two customers. We serve businesses in all three counties and anyone who walks through our doors. We are a completely voluntary program. We are not mandated, and there can be no mandates to our program. WIOA is made up of many different titles. Title I is the title that I represent. But Title II, III, and IV are also partner programs. Those are operated outside of our purview, but we have responsibility to ensure that they are doing the work they're supposed to be doing. Besides the actual title programs, we do have other partners. I'll go into them a little bit more in depth later on in the presentation. But we do have more than just what's listed here.
Are you a 501c3 independent nonprofit or?
No,
Okay.
because we are part of county government. We're part of the county government designation.
Oh, okay. So you're different.
There are 11 workforce areas in the state of Wisconsin, though. We are the only one that's embedded in county government. All of our county counterparts are independent 501c3s. Milwaukee by itself, every other county has 3 or more, or every other workforce board has 3 or more counties. So that's really divided up by population. So typically by size, we're generally the second or third largest board. It depends on sort of Fox Valley and the workforce board and the South Central board, which includes Dane County.
What's the 3 county? Kenosha and what else?
Kenosha, Walworth, and Racine.
Ah.
So under Title I, which is the one that we have direct responsibility for, we're providing employment and training services to participants that come in and sign up for our services. That's career, individual training, and follow-up. People can be enrolled in our program for quite some period of time. It's not often we're getting somebody that's coming in and saying, I want to sign up, and we have a job waiting for them, and they have the skills to match it, and they go to work. Sometimes we're putting people through training programs. It could be short, CNA, CDL, or it could be long. We can put somebody into a nursing program itself. And there are all qualifications for that we'll go into. And then once somebody does gain unsubsidized employment, we are with them for 12 months follow-up. And we can offer some services in that period of time as well, which is sort of new, at least to Wisconsin. But that's been something we can do all the time. So once they get the job, we can provide some basic supports to ensure that they're keeping that job. So for Title I adult and dislocated worker, so I want to make sure I didn't skip a slide here. There we go. Those are the services. For youth, we have in-school and out-of-school youth. There are 14 different elements which we want to offer each and every youth. Keeping in mind that not all of these our career planners or our staff have the expertise to deliver. So something like financial literacy services, we have an MOU in place. We're working with local banks and we're sending people to the banks who provide free financial literacy to people. And that goes with several of our other categories as well. And these are all services that if they aren't free or we've negotiated with these companies for free, we're getting at sometimes a reduced price or paying for them. Yes, ma'am.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you ever work with Extension? Because I know they're doing a big, on PDAC, we've been talking to them and they do a lot of training about financial literacy. Do you work with?
We've done a lot with UW Extension.
Okay.
For services, and if they have a program like that, I would definitely be interested in hearing about it. So that
They've been doing that, so.
Yeah, and they just hired
a
a
new person, because to do that, because they've been, it had kind of taken over other responsibilities, and so then they hired.
Sure.
And I know UW
Right
Extension
there.
has been through some changes throughout the years where we used to have our own separate and then they merged and then they got new
Yeah.
staff.
Okay, I just
Um,
wondered whether you were working together with them.
I know our financial literacy now, I believe we have an MOU in place with Johnson Bank,
Mhm.
who's been doing that for us for years.
Mhm.
We haven't had any problems, but if there's somebody else offering and it's available, we most likely would.
Supervisor Brown is the chair of PDEC, so if you want to talk to her, first talk to.
We can do that. So again, with youth services, we have to treat them a little bit different just because they are youth, they're not adults. So these are required elements that we offer to them. That does not mean that the youth has to take advantage of it, but we do have to offer it. Whereas in adult services, we're sort of assessing and learning and listening and recommending them to the services that they need based on informal and formal assessments. For our adult program, you got to be 18 or older. You have to be a legal citizen or working toward the ability to work in the United States. And if you are a male, you must conform with the selective service registration. And that's from, 18 to 26. If for some reason somebody has not registered for selective service, the Workforce Board can issue a waiver. And that's only for eligibility into our program, though, not a waiver for any of the other federal entities or benefits they might be available for, just for this. And they have to self-attest as to why they did not register. One that we commonly deal with is somebody that might have been incarcerated during those timeframes, didn't register, we'll issue a waiver for that. When we get into priority of service for adults, we do have guidelines which we have to follow that says if you are a veteran or a spouse of a veteran who's on public assistance, you're first in the door. And then it goes down from there. Now, we track priority of service for everybody, but we don't usually enact a priority of service. You have to get to a place in the Workforce Board where it comes down to, do I have enough funding to serve these people? If I don't have enough funding and I have to start a wait list, we have to follow priority service and take people off that list in the priority category that they fill, going through the succession of 1 through 4. For dislocated workers, it's a little bit different. So they still have to have that right to work in the United States or be working towards it. If they're a male, they still have to be registered for selective service, but they also have to meet one of the federal criteria for work. So this is going to mainly deal with somebody losing employment to no fault of their own. If somebody quits their job and comes to us for services, they're not getting served in the dislocated worker program. So these are plant closures, self-employed workers who their business might be bad, they're going to enter into a more traditional field of employment, displaced homemakers, moms or dads that became stay-at-home moms or dads with their kids. Now they're re-entering the workforce. And then, of course, separated service members or spouses or family of armed forces service members. So we do get a lot of people that might come up from Great Lakes that live in the Kenosha area, and their spouses might come to us saying, hey, we relocated here because we got stationed at Great Lakes. Can we receive some help? And then we also get notified of any mass closing within our 3-county area. So for instance, last week there was a business in Bristol that closed. We get notification of that so that we can go in and offer services prior to them shutting their doors. Wisconsin, it's 50 or more, but businesses that want to be proactive for their employees, if they have less, sometimes they'll contact us and we'll go in and offer services. For youth, we have 2 different programs. We have in school and out of school. So in school youth is 14 to 21. When we say in school, obviously when that 14 to 18, we know that's usually about high school. You get above that, it's, are they actively attending a class in an institution? So they have to not only just be enrolled, they have to be active in class. For out of school youth, 16 to 24, does not have those requirements. It's just an age range, but we do have the compulsory school law in the state of Wisconsin that says 16 through 18, you must be attending school. So typically, we're not dealing with a lot of 16 to 18-year-olds in the out-of-school program. The one caveat to that is sometimes you'll have somebody that finished school early. So we deal with, some kids that come in and say, hey, I graduated already, but I can't walk until the end of the semester. So sometimes we'll get that. And then sometimes, rarely, we do get somebody who'll say, I got my GED or high school equivalent prior to completing high school. And so we're looking at that. Again, they must have a legal right to work in the United States or working towards that. And again, if we're dealing with an older youth registered for selective service, and typically if we have somebody that is like that, that fits that age range and they haven't, we're going to walk them through the process of registering if they haven't already. In-school youth, we have some other eligibilities in here that they have to fit into one of those categories. And then we also have that for out-of-school youth. So these are all just regular things within the law that it says they have to meet one of these things. Typically, I'd probably say with about 98% of our kids that are coming in, they're going to meet one of these criteria based on the program that they're trying to enroll into. And when you look with somebody with an individual with a disability that might be a youth, if they have an IEP at school, that makes them eligible. Title II, I'll go through these pretty quickly. Title II, which is a title that is just involved with our programming and that we do a lot of work with, that's ABE or ELL, English Language Learners or Adult Basic Education. That's done by Gateway Technical College. So they are a partner of ours in this. They make referrals to us. We can make referrals back to them. Rather interesting, we're an employment program. We can increase somebody's odds of getting a job by 72% if they have their high school diploma, but I cannot pay for somebody to get their high school diploma. I can't pay for them to get their equivalent. It's not a service that's allowed within the law, so we have to send them the Title II and hope that Gateway has vouchers for them to do that.
Makes sense.
Title III, this is probably the most common title that you're familiar with because this is the job center itself. So these are state staff that are working within our 3 locations that are sort of doing the day-to-day of people that are coming in saying, I need to search for a job or I need help filing my UI claim or something like that. They're coming in because they need assistance. Their first contact is going to be the Wagner Pfizer. Again, that is a separate act that was done way before WIOA existed. It's been around a long time, but it was folded in as a service of us. Therefore, it is within our job center system, and we are responsible for ensuring that it's there.
UI unemployed individual, is that what that?
Unemployment insurance.
Insurance, oh, okay.
Sorry, I should have spelled that out in there. Now, something important about UI is when somebody comes in and fill their UI claim, even the job service staff, we cannot physically assist them in their application. All we can do is stand over their shoulder and give them recommendations on how to answer that. It's a very legal process. And we're not allowed to actually strike keys to help them in that process, which is why we let the state staff do that. We don't get our contracted staff involved with filling claims.
So who are state staff? In this picture, like, are they there, standing there?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, every one of our comprehensive job centers has job service staff assigned to
Okay,
work.
okay, so just job
They're in
service
Employment Central.
county,
Yep.
got it, okay. Got it.
Title IV. Title IV is the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. Again, a completely separate act that's been folded into WIOA. They are located in all 3 of our centers. They are providing services to people who have documented disabilities. It is not just physical disabilities that they work with. So they're working with people that may have mental health disabilities or any other disabilities as defined by medical doctors. And they're in our building as well, more towards the south end, across from aging and disability. Going on to the centers, I've mentioned it a lot of times. We do have 3 centers. Obviously, the Kenosha County Job Center or Human Services Building, the Racine County Workforce Solutions Building on Taylor Avenue, and then our Walworth County Job Center, which is co-located with Gateway Technical College in Elkhorn. That is our smallest center, and it is not a comprehensive center. The reason it's not a comprehensive center is because we don't have Title III job service in there. We have all the other mandated partners, but job service has lost so much staff over the years. They have so many unfilled positions. And that out of our 3 is the least attended job center. So they wanted to focus on the 2 job centers that got more. And with that being said, Racine County Workforce Solutions since or post-COVID is one of the most attended job centers in the state of Wisconsin, with Kenosha usually being number 3 or number 4. So we usually get more traffic here than Milwaukee gets in theirs or Dane County gets in theirs.
Do we know why?
Don't. I wish we did. It'd be an
Yeah, it would be interesting.
it'd be an
to know,
interesting
because we're doing such great
analytic
work.
to have. But it does have a lot to do with visibility. And the fact that we are in, well, our 2 biggest centers are right in government buildings. So just a little backstory on that, Kenosha County Job Center in 1998 became the first comprehensive job center in the state of Wisconsin. So we were the first out of all of them to be comprehensive, and that is because of the plan that the county had at the time to bring all the services together under one roof. So when you go to a job center in Dane County, you're going to a room about this size with some computers and a couple staff, and that's your job center. They have no other services there to refer people to get that holistic approach that's needed with a lot of people that we serve. And so that also has a big reason as to why we are so well attended.
Thank you.
Job center services that are offered, it really varies. People are coming in for different types of things. It could be simple job search. It could be a requirement of their UI. They could be attending a class, or it could be somebody utilizing another program services. Maybe they're working with child support and they stop in and they want access to just job listings and things like that. So there's many office services that are listed, and this is not comprehensive. We have people come in all the time for stuff that's not on this list. Connections. So this is where I was talking about a lot of the other programs that are offered within our purview of services. Some of these operate independently or in other divisions, but they're mandated within the law that we have them as partners within the job center system. So, you know, Job Corps is serving youth. We have the Office of Veteran Services that is completely different than the county CVSO. So these Office of Veteran Services are state employees that are offering services to disabled veterans. And again, those are employment services, not beneficiary services. And then of course the W-2 programs, food share, employment and training, our ABE and ELL programs that I mentioned. We partner with DWD State Apprenticeship. And then a plethora of community-based organizations. Supervisor Brown, you probably remember in the past, we worked together. We had participants that we were bringing in to get services through your organization at the time. So our goal is to always be trying to reach out and trying to make partnerships as either they move into the area or have been here and we didn't have that relationship before. That's about it. It's a very large system. It's a fun system, and I never deal with the same thing 2 days in a row.
Any questions for Mr. Barnes?
So you're the director of all of them? You're director of Kenosha? I know it's one, right?
It's
Yeah,
one system.
okay. And so the day-to-day operations in Racine or Walworth are handled by staff? Is there a
So,
mini director?
no, so within the law, we have job center managers.
Yeah.
And that's done through the provision of services. But I visit those centers regularly. So I may be in Kenosha one day and I may be in Racine the next or Walworth, and it's just depending on where the need is or where I can be of assistance to staff.
I also just want to give a shout out to Doug. I've also communicated with him about people I know and issues I'm having and very responsive. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
How much federal grant money do you get? Or money from the federal government?
Funny, you should ask.
Today.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it does. Well, it does vary. So right now, we get about $1.7 million just to operate our core WIOA programs. So that's split up between adult, dislocated, and youth.
Mhm.
We typically get more youth and more dislocated than adult, but we have some ability to transfer funds between adult and dislocated to serve where the population is in need. But then we get other grants. So right now we have 2 ARPA
Oh, okay.
funded grants. We do have a DOC contract. And then there are some other governor set aside dollars. So before the funds come to the workforce board, the governor gets to take 10% of it as a set aside to use for statewide programs. And that's how we get funded for like our rapid responses when we're responding to a mass closure at a company.
Have you been informed about any restrictions on that on those monies?
No.
Well, good.
No, we actually just submitted an application yesterday for a round 2 of a worker advancement initiative grant that is ARPA funded.
Any other, Kirby? Olivia, you have a question for Mr. Barnes?
I don't think. I'm trying to think of one.
What school do you go to?
Harborside.
Harborside, okay.
Yeah, right across the street.
So we regularly go to some of the high schools and do some job fairs. So we do a job fair usually at ITA or Transfer almost every year. And that's offered for all the schools, and the schools will bus them from other schools to the schools where we're having that job fair.
Do you get like a good turnout, right?
I wish it was better. I wish it was better. Usually we get 150, 200 kids.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a lot more students in Kenosha than that. We'd take more.
Yeah.
So would our companies.
So what is the contract with TOC? What do they want you to do?
So we're offering pre-release classes. So there's a curriculum approved by the University of Cincinnati Correctional Institute, which is a division of the University of Ohio. And they developed a curriculum that we deliver. We have to start with them. They have to have at least 6 months remaining on their sentence when we first enroll them, but it can be up to a year.
So is that being done at the detention center?
It's being done at RCI and RIOC.
Oh, okay,
So
so you,
the state institutions that we're
RCIs,
delivering
yeah.
those.
okay. Not ours though. Not the minimum security prison.
No. No, that's a work release facility
So
here.
they, okay.
So most of them that get moved here already have jobs or have access to getting a job.
Anything else? Well, thank you. Appreciate you coming and talking to us. Keep up the good work.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Vicky,
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn
Second.
by Supervisor Robinson, a second by all 3 of the. Who wants this? Supervisor Brown, okay. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned.